as well as Senator Wyden and Senator Blumenthal, co-sponsors in the House of Representatives. Give them a round of applause. We are here to introduce a simple piece of legislation that stands for a simple premise. A minimum wage in the United States of America should be a living wage in the United States of America. This is the most powerful, the most affluent, the wealthiest country in the world. There is no reason that somebody should go to work full-time in this country and not be able to pay their bills. Right? There is no excuse for it. In a world where we just created the first trillionaire, in a world where the top 1% of Americans collectively hold 13 times the wealth of the bottom 50% of Americans, it's not like we don't have the ability to pay people a dignified wage. We have just decided not to do it, and we are here to say that it is time that everybody that works makes a dignified wage, that everybody that works in this country is able to pay their bills. And by the way, we are not alone. Now, some people are going to say, well, wait a second, jumping from $7 an hour to $25 an hour, that's a big jump. Well, let me tell you two things. First, we didn't pick this number out of thin air. $25 is the amount of money that you need to just pay your bills on a weekly basis. It's not a luxury wage. Second, if wages had just kept up with the increase in worker productivity, right, instead of the increases in productivity accruing to the benefit of the 1%, guess what the minimum wage would be today? $25. Right? So we're not picking this number out of thin air. It's what you need to pay your bills. It's what the wage would be if we had decided to equally distribute the gains in productivity between workers and owners. But let me tell you something else. When you poll Americans and ask them an open question, what do you think the minimum wage should be in America? Here's what Democrats say in answer to that poll: $27. But here's what Republicans and independents say: $26 an hour. So out there in America, there is no difference between what Republicans, independents, and Democrats think about the status of our minimum wage today. They know it is criminally low. They know that nobody in this country should work full-time and live in poverty. And so, well, for the time being, this may seem like a tough political issue here. Out there in regular America, there is agreement that the minimum wage should be a living wage in this country. So I'm really proud to be here to introduce this legislation with my partners. I'm also really proud of the advocates who are going to speak, because they aren't waiting, and the people of this country aren't waiting for Congress to do the right thing. As we speak, there are initiatives being put on ballots in cities and communities all over the country that will succeed in getting a minimum wage up to $25. And the last thing to say is this, before I introduce my Senate and House partners. There's obviously a lot of rhetoric out there from the business community that the sky will fall if the wage goes up. But cities all across America have done the work already of showing what happens when you raise the wage far above the federal wage, and the sky doesn't fall. In fact, what happens is that when you put more money in the pockets of workers, that money goes right back into the economy. And so the people that worry legitimately that they won't be able to have the money to pay their employees the extra minimum wage find very quickly that when everybody in that community is being paid a fair wage, that money goes right back into the businesses and they are able to pay that wage. It's a virtuous cycle. And so don't believe the scare tactics. This is possible. This is necessary. And to me, it's a consensus reform that both Republicans and Democrats support. So we're going to push this really hard, and I'm going to turn this over first to Senator Wyden, who has to get a plane, Senator Blumenthal, our House lead, Representative Ramirez, and then Representative Mejia, and then we will get on to our advocates to tell you what they are doing out there in the community. So give a round of applause to Senator Ron Wyden.
Thank you. And the reason what Chris is doing is so important is that the country is hungry for big ideas. They're hungry for important ideas. And get a load of this number. Our legislation would boost wages for half of our country's workforce. That comes to 67 million workers. The Murphy Plan is a big idea, folks. This is what we need to do. And it comes at a crucial time. Y'all have been following the debate about AI, and there's discussion about AI is going to take people's jobs and the like. Well, all of us who represent you in the Congress, we're not going to let it happen. But one of our best tools is to show that we have concrete results. And this is one of them. And the reason I know it is because Oregon has been doing almost this for years now. For years. So this idea that the sky is going to fall because of what we're doing is just absurd. And the rest of the country, frankly, ought to catch up with the state of Oregon because we're doing it and workers like it. It's getting a fair shake to people. The last point that I want to make is that we need to chart a course for the American economy that gives everybody a chance to get ahead. That's what it's all about. I'm the point person for the Democrats on taxes. Well, Senator Murphy is bringing us another tool. People want to go out and make a good living and get a wage, and that complements things that we're doing on the tax side, like the child tax credit. So Senator Murphy is a little bit of a revolutionary here, and I just want you to know that as long as I have the honor of serving in the United States Senate, I'm going to be behind this all the way. We're going to get this done. It's time. It should have happened years ago. Let's go get it!
Thanks, Ron. Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you. I just want to take issue with one point that my great colleague, Senator Wyden, just made. There is nothing revolutionary about a living wage. It may be revolutionary to some people in this country, like Elon Musk, but it is not revolutionary in the United States of America that people should be paid with dignity and fairness. And I want to thank Senator Murphy for his leadership on this issue. I'm proud to be his colleague from Connecticut. I'm proud that we have great advocates here, including advocates from Connecticut, SEIU, thank you. And I want to give a shout out to the unions who are here. Once again, unions are stepping forward, among them SEIU, American Federation of Teachers. We're going to hear from Randy. We need unions in this country. We need strong unions that fight for everyday working families and Americans. Thank you to the unions that are here today. Now, let's just come right to the numbers. Almost half of all Americans are making less than $26 an hour. Americans are struggling right now. The cost of gasoline and groceries. We all know that Donald Trump has inflated all of the costs of living in this country. People cannot make ends meet on less than $25 an hour and live fairly and with dignity. And that's why we need to raise that minimum number to $25. Now, if you remember nothing else that I say, just remember that a basic principle of America is we all do better when we all do better. We're in it together. The American middle class is the fiber that holds us together as a nation. We are unique in the world in the strength of our middle class, and we are seeing that middle class dwindling, diminishing, under pressure, because our economy is failing to treat workers with dignity and respect. That's why we need a $25 living wage for everyone. Dignity, respect, and our American middle class. We need to sustain it, and this is the way to do it. And to the business community, we're actually doing you a favor. We're really doing you a favor. First of all, surprise, people work better if they're paid fairly.
And they stick around, right?
Believe it or not. Number two, they stick around if they're paid fairly. And number three, if we have a national standard for the minimum wage, $25 an hour, then we don't have a race to the bottom among states competing with each other about who can do less fairly. It's going to be a floor, and states can compete about how they'll do more fairly. Right now, we have a system that encourages a race to the bottom, not to the top. A living wage, $25 an hour, is the least we can do for the American middle class, working families, Americans who go to work every day, and they depend on what they make. They don't depend on the stock market. You know, the President of the United States measures our economy by what the stock market is doing. Most Americans depend on what they make, what their paycheck is every week at work. And that's the reality, Mr. President. That's the reality my colleagues here need to accept. A living wage is the way to treat Americans fairly, with dignity and respect, and to strengthen the middle class. Thank you so much. And I guess I'm introducing Representative Ramirez.
For all! Living wage! For all! Many of you know that before I was a congresswoman or a state representative, I was a proud community organizer. And we bring the organizing into these halls of Congress every single day. You're going to hear in a little bit from another organizer. Because, look, there are people here that are going to say there's no way that we're going to be able to pass a living wage for all in this Congress. But they don't know that we have organizers, we have coalition, we have labor unions, we have senators, we have Congress people that are unwilling to hear the word no way. Because we're going to create a yes way here, a possible way for all people. As you just heard, I'm Congresswoman Delia Catalina Ramirez, and I represent the mighty Illinois 3rd Congressional District, representing much of the northwest side of Chicago. So go Cubs, but also go Sox. I'm still a politician here. But look, no, the reality is that what I really need you to understand, yes, I am proud to be a congresswoman. It is such an honor to be able to be, yes, the first Latina in the Midwest in Congress, but I'll tell you the greatest honor for me. The greatest honor and the greatest title is that I get to be the daughter of two Guatemalan immigrants, working class immigrants, Luis and Maria Elvira Ramirez. Two people that, as I grew up, I saw work with their neighbors, multiple minimum wage jobs. There was a point where my mom had 3 jobs and my dad had 2 jobs. And they had to figure out how to coordinate with each other and with our church family to provide childcare for myself and my siblings. Because let me be honest with you, then when it was $4.50 an hour, there was no way that they could possibly give us what we needed and be able to be home by 5 p.m. So as I think about this moment, and the fact that we're not that far from what was like for me in the late 80s, companies are reporting record high earnings. Working people are still struggling to survive. And people are not just working one full-time job. In many cases around the country, they're working 2 full-time jobs just to survive. And that's because for the last 17 years, the federal minimum wage has been stuck at $7.25 an hour. Well, I started crunching numbers. Do you know what that's in a month? That's $1,256.66 a month before taxes. For my colleague here that is our tax guy in the city, in the country, and here in Congress. Yeah, I really promoted the country. I like that. You and I both know that after taxes, that's really more like $900 a month. How much does it cost for a 2-bedroom apartment, basic apartment in this country on average? $2,000. If you're lucky, you might find a basement for $1,250. This is what people are having to experience every single day in this country, and that is not right. And so this is why we're here today. Because with the Senate and the House and a coalition with us, we understand that we can't keep catering to wannabe kings, to their tantrums as they hold historic legislation for working families hostage. That Congress must get to work and put working families first. It is why back in April with this coalition that we stood together. As some were welcoming the King of England, we stood in a coalition introducing the House version of the Living Wage for All Act. And it is why today it's a little bit warmer than it was back in April. But as I said as I walked in here, today is a bright day that gives us the energy and the commitment to bring brighter days for working families. It's why I'm standing here with Senator Murphy and other senators and this coalition as we demand a future where working people have every single damn thing they need to thrive guaranteed to them. Our bills would raise the federal minimum wage, yes, you just heard, to $25 per hour, and you also understand where we got this number. We want $25 an hour, not just for some workers, those that some would want to pit against the others. We're saying $25 an hour for every single worker, every single industry, period, punto, no exceptions. And let me be clear. You heard this just a second ago as well. 25 is not a ceiling. It is a floor. And we expect that in New York and California, Illinois, we'll continue to raise wages beyond $25 an hour. But this gives us an opportunity. So whether you live in Alabama, Mississippi, Illinois, whether you live in Oregon, that you no longer have to think about 2-3 jobs so that you can raise your family. Because the Living Wage for All Act is just one of the very important pieces of legislation that we are working together as Democrats to ensure that working people are at the center of every single policy that we pass in this Congress. So are we ready for a living wage for all? Yes. Are we ready for a living wage for all? Yes. ¿Estamos listos para salarios justos? Sí. Let's get to work. And to do it, we need more organizers. So help me introduce, with a big round of applause, my sister, who literally, that week that we introduced Living Wage for All in the House, was her first week in Congress. Mi hermana Ana Lilia Mejia from the great state of New Jersey.
That's right. I'm thrilled to stand here. I was telling Saru that it is incredible. What an honor, similar to Delia, to have worked on the outside, to essentially be throwing this football and trying to score for the American people and American workers, and then get a chance to run into the field and try to run that ball. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. As Delia shared, it was actually day 2 of my tenure. Who's counting? In my tenure in Congress. As you heard, my name is Ana Lilia Mejia. I represent the great state of New Jersey's 11th Congressional District. Up until just a couple months ago, I was an advocate talking to workers, organizing our community, fighting for what is obvious that we all need. You have heard that it has been far too long that American workers, that our federal wage has lingered in a paltry $7.25. That's not right. It is not right. What is even more shocking to me is the fact that the federal wage for tipped workers, this sub minimum wage, and it is a sub minimum wage, is an even paltrier, an even more disgusting $2.13. And what people don't realize is that when you put workers in a situation of desperation, like these poverty wages in fact do, you expose workers to harassment. You expose workers to impacts to their health. You expose workers and their families to an injustice. Similar to Delia, my parents had to work 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. That meant that I didn't have the benefit of a parent helping me with homework. That meant that I didn't have the benefit of maybe coming home from school and being able to share a hard day, or the excitement of doing well in class, because my parents weren't home. Because my mother, she would walk out of first shift and walk down the street into another factory to clock into a second shift, because poverty wages destroy our families. But we, this beautiful set of organized people, know that we can do better. Am I right? That's right. And you're right. The coalition that is going to bring this home is an incredible coalition of workers and unions, of House and Senate, of everyday Americans in every corner of this country who know that it is far time that workers get a piece of their productivity. I would venture that if our minimum wage actually kept up with CEO compensation, we'd be talking about more than $25 an hour. That's right. Now, I'm not going to belabor the point. The bottom line here is that we need to deliver for the American people. We know, we have heard loud and clear that the biggest problem, the biggest issue, I could tell you, I was knocking on doors for what feels like 57 elections, and everyone would tell me affordability, affordability, affordability. It is insufficient to say that we're going to lower prices, although we must. We have to put more money in people's pockets. Right. Now, to share about how this campaign has been fighting to do exactly that, a two-pronged approach to address the needs of the American people, I now get to introduce my sister from another mister, Saru Jarlaman. Thank you, my sister.
Good afternoon. Living wage. One job.
Should be enough.
It really should be. My name is Saru Jayaraman. I've been organizing restaurant workers for the last 25 years, and I want to first thank all the restaurant workers who have come from all over the country, all the One Fair Wage staff and members, and of course our incredible Living Wage for All coalition that includes now these incredible Senate and congressional leaders. Thank you, Senator Murphy. Thank you, Senator Blumenthal and Wyden. Thank you, Congress members Delia Ramirez and Analia Mejia, and so many more. Living Wage for All coalition has grown over the last year to be more than 100 labor unions and community organizations, with the steering committee led by One Fair Wage, the National Advancement of the NAACP, too long, NAACP, and NEA, and Popular Democracy, which Analia led before she went into Congress, as well as Policy Link. But there's a much broader coalition that's come together. Thank you so much to President Weingarten and AFT that stepped in to lead. SEIU, we're so proud and happy. You guys have been leaders on this issue for so long. Unidos, thank you for being here. National Urban League, and so many more. I also want to say there are employers in this coalition. I want to recognize the wonderful Andy Shalal, owner of Bus Boys and Poets, one of the largest restaurant companies here in Washington, D.C., and a long advocate for living wages for all workers. He is one of incredible restaurant owners across the country that are standing with us for a living wage. Listen, this whole thing started last year when we saw a series of articles emerge in USA Today documenting a rumor video that the right was circulating among MAGA voters saying that Donald Trump had already raised the federal minimum wage to $25 an hour, which is ridiculous. The minimum wage has not gone up, as we all know, for decades, since 1991, we're talking about, for tipped workers. So we are experiencing a moment where, yes, lies are being circulated, but it was so interesting to me that the right was saying 25 to their base, agitating their base about 25, and there was enormous popularity of the issue, and we said, this is a problem. We have to get ahead. We have to demand a bold living wage for all people, and that's why we came together last June for the first annual Living Wage for All convening, and since then, 9 states have launched Living Wage for All campaigns and coalitions. So there are folks here from New York where $30 is moving. There are folks here from Maryland where 25 is moving. 25 is moving on the ballot here in Washington, D.C. 25 is moving in Pennsylvania and Michigan. 27 is moving in Illinois. $30 is moving in Hawaii. I just flew in from Alameda County, California, where we are submitting signatures on Monday for a $30 initiative on the ballot this November. And I'm so proud there's a group of high school students right now in Nome, Alaska, collecting signatures for a $25 initiative on the ballot this November. This is a movement that is growing across the country, and it is because we have these twin crises. It's not just an affordability crisis. It is a crisis of democracy, where so many of our members are saying to us, you want me to come out to a rally on Saturday to save democracy? Well, I work 3 jobs. What has democracy done for me lately? And this is about demonstrating that democracy can deliver on their top issue, which is the cost of living, and is therefore worth saving. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank especially our Senate and congressional leaders for doing this, because we do need a living wage. And I want to thank President Weingarten for being here and invite her up to speak. Thank you so much.
So everything I would have said has already been said. So let me just say a couple of things, which is, first, thank God for all of you. Because we have to have bold aspiration that comes from Democrats to show that there is a better way. And even if we don't get it passed immediately, and we should in the next session, people have to see working people who are coming home at 11 or 12 at night and going to their second job at 4 or 5 in the morning. I have members all across the country. We are the fastest growing union in the United States. We're over 1.8 million. And the conversation I have with people all over is we need to see this compact, this covenant from any politician about helping us. And in America, the best way to help people is to make sure that their paycheck can actually cover the basics that people need and want and desire for their family. There is nothing more American than people having a sense that the American dream is possible. That's right. On this, the 250th anniversary, it is not about reflecting pools. It is not about ballrooms. It is about what is in my paycheck that I can turn around and make sure I can have a barbecue with my kids on the 250th. That's right. So that's why we are here, because I hear it from my members who have second and third jobs, but I hear it from my members, nurses, bus drivers, paraprofessionals, teachers, who also hear it from the kids they serve, the patients they meet, who are seeing the struggle in America firsthand. That's right. And so when you see that struggle so much, you have to stand up and fight. And what we know is that if people could have a union, they want a union. Over 70% of the workers in the country want a union, but only 9 or 10% have it. And those who have it, teachers who have it, make about 20% more than teachers who don't. So part of this is making sure those of us who are unionized, those of us who are fighting to make sure Americans can have decent health care and decent housing and have the education and the skills and the power they need for a decent life, we have to make sure that that floor is lifted for everyone. That is why the AFT is part of this coalition. And to introduce another member of the coalition, I want to welcome up Lisette Orella Engel, the director of UNIDO's Economic Policy Project.
Thank you so much. As you've heard, my name is Lisette Oriana Engel, Director of Economic Policy with Unidos US. We're the largest Latino-led civil rights organization in the country. Latinos are 66 million strong. We contribute $4.3 million to the economy. If we were an economy of our own, would be the 5th largest economy in the whole world. We work really hard. At Unidos US, we see what the gap with this minimum wage does. Nearly 80% of Latino adults, or 38 million people, are part of America's working class, with the highest labor participation in the nation. They are doing everything right, but somehow we still fall behind. Our latest poll of Latino voters indicated that the economy is once again the Latinos' top concern, with 40% saying that they want action on wages specifically. This bill would change that. Almost half of Latino workers, 18 million people, could see their wages rise. Right now, the median Latino working class family earns $56,000 a year. That's a family. A full-time worker earning $25 an hour would bring home $52,000, closing that gap, not widening it. Nationally, that's roughly $180 billion in additional wages for Latino workers, an average raise of $8,000 a year, money that goes right back into our communities. So this isn't a bold idea. It's practical. It's popular. 82% of Latino voters have already told us that they support it. A wage that can pay rent without a panic and to build a better life, not just survive it. When Latino workers prosper, the entire economy prospers. And that's why we have included this idea in our economic prosperity agenda to ensure that all of America prospers. Unidos US is proud to endorse the Living Wage for All Act, and we urge Congress to pass it and support it. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Patrice Willoughby.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patrice Willoughby. I'm Chief of Policy for the NAACP. I'd like to thank Senator Murphy, Representative Ramirez, and thank everybody for being here today. We've heard all of the talking points about why a living wage is important. Let me tell you something else. It's no surprise that as wages have stagnated and corporate profits have increased, incidents of hate crimes have also increased because people who are desperate, it pits people against each other. As Senator Blumenthal has said, when we all do better, we all do better. And this is why a living wage can't be divorced from a dysfunctional political economy. It can't be divorced from voting rights. When progressive members of the House and Senate are elected, they are more likely to put into effect bills like Living Wage for All that are going to help the American people. This is the core American value. And as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of these United States, this is the pivot that we have to get back to. Uplifting the American people and ensuring that our economy and this democracy works for everyone. Thank you so much.
Let me now introduce two folks who will be able to talk about what this means from the ground floor. First, from SEIU, a certified nursing assistant, Johanna Allaby, and then Sylvie King, a Connecticut resident and restaurant worker.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Senator Murphy, Representative Ramirez, and others, co-sponsor of the Living Wages for All Act, for allowing me to share my story. My name is Joanna Allaby. I am a certified nursing assistant from Connecticut. I dedicate 15 years to this work, caring for those who cannot care for themselves. But today I stand before you not just as a CNA, but someone who is struggling to survive on pay that has remained the same while the cost of everything around us has soared. In 2024, I had returned to a job that I left previously out of necessity. One job was no longer enough. I have 2 full-time jobs over 80 hours a week just to make ends meet. I do not have a day off. I make under $25 an hour at both jobs, even with my experience. I work endlessly to provide for my kids, but we just make it. My wages covered food and roof over our head. But there's nothing left over, for savings or for emergency, let alone to go ahead. I'm constantly running but stuck in one place. We all know the cost of living has gone up. It means caregivers are working 60, 70, 80, even 100 hours a week to make ends meet. And yes, we have multiple members of the union that are working 100 hours a week or more. This is not sustainable. This is not respect. That is not care. It's time for 25 an hour minimum wage for all. Let's get the Living Wages for All Act passed. Thank you so much.
Living wage for all.
Sylvie, you want to hold this? Yes.
Yeah, you do. Greetings, fellow citizens, esteemed senators. My name is Sylvie. I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut. I've been bartending since 2018. In 2020, restaurant workers were deemed essential along with other service workers. And I do believe that building community, making people feel welcome and cared for are all incredibly important and essential. These are skills that should be valued more, especially in our rush to automate everything. I work hard. I work long hours, sometimes up to 13 hours a day. My base pay is $8 an hour, which is $8 less than the Connecticut state minimum wage. It hasn't changed as the cost of living has skyrocketed. It is already challenging to save money, and my goal of going back to school to study history seems ever more daunting. I enjoy the work that I do, but a system that pays me poverty wages for that labor breeds resentment. Service workers are often grouped under unskilled labor, and we are told that our work isn't valued much. And when profit is the dominant interest at large, it will only be service workers who are paid less than their worth. I ask that we are paid the full minimum wage, plus tips. We are human beings who deserve to be paid a living wage, no less than $25 an hour. Thank you. Senator Murphy.
Well done. Well done. Well, this is such powerful testimony. And I'm just so glad to see this coalition here today. It's a simple premise. We are going to push hard to get this done in the House and the Senate. And frankly, to tell the American people that when they go to the polls, ask your candidates whether they support a $25 minimum wage or not. And don't support those who aren't backing your ability, your right to earn a wage that allows you to pay the bills. We'd be happy to take a couple questions if anybody has them. All right. Good. Once again, let me thank everybody here. We want a living wage. One job. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here.